this day is an anniversary of the big one, the Cedar Fire, 2000. And I was just talking about not just the troops on the ground, but also the aerial equipment. And we have CAL FIRE brought into Ramona the C-130. It's a big one. It drops a huge load. And then the county is contracted with a whole fleet of aerial aircraft, including the DC-10, which drops even bigger load if you've seen that fly. So as best prepared as we are today, we're continuing to move forward. And I think the most important thing is if we can pray that we get some rain. I chair the Unified Disaster Council. We had a meeting yesterday, and that's all the fire chiefs in the entire region. And we have a weather report from the National Weather Service, and it's not good news. It's very dry, I'll tell you that, but it looks like the dryness is going to be sustained well into November. And we know the Santa Ana winds are devastating, particularly this time of year when it's dry. But we hope for rain. You know, if we get rain and then we get the Santa Ana winds, it drastically reduces the fire risk. The prediction is that we're probably not going to see any rain, at least, he said. If he's right, we don't know, at least until mid-November. And it could be later than that, but they expect the dryness to continue well into December. So it wasn't really good news, rather historic in terms of what has happened in the past. So that's what I know there, and I think the best we can be, all of us, is to be prepared, for all of us to be prepared as property owners, and then allow the fire agencies to do their work as they can. And hopefully this fire in Witch Creek can get that out. It was about 2 acres, I think, a few minutes ago. So, yeah, but it'll likelihood spread rapidly. The county's not just sitting back, though, on its laurel as far as the fire protection and efforts go. Focusing on the controlled burns, certainly not this time of year, but the controlled burns and fire breaks. And then we're putting together a grant program for people that live in high-risk fire areas. And do we have a map of that, of the high-risk fire areas? No, I don't think we do. It's a big area, no doubt. We're in it now. And that grant program is designed to help property owners. If you need to close in your eaves, or maybe you need a different kind of a roof that's fireproof. In other words, to fireproof your house, your dwelling, and to help and incentivize people to do that. Certainly not going to pay for the whole thing, but to help people who need some help in doing that, in making your homes more fire safe. I want to talk about a couple other things, and then we'll go around the room, because I know that there's a lot of interest in the community, and I appreciate you taking your time today. Probably nothing else to do.
Well, we have a lot to do.
A lot.
We're just, this is important.
Yeah, anyway, I wanted to talk about SDG&E for a moment. We have Joe and Mitch back there. We've invited them to come. A lot of interest, a lot of concern, and rightly so, on the proactive power shutoffs. And I have talked over and over about the effects that has on backcountry residents. And I know that it is not perfected, because I have personally witnessed the shutoffs in areas where there's little to no wind. And of course, in our backcountry, and we have 2/3 of our East County that depends on wells for water. And you have no electricity, you have no water. You have no water for yourself, or no water to protect your structures. So that is a huge problem, and no water for firefighting either, if they need it. So one way to mitigate it is for SDG&E to put generators, provide generators for people who need generators, and particularly those who depend on life-saving devices that depend on electricity. And there's a big risk, a big risk. I've talked to SDG&E, they know, in my opinion, the risk is greater than them shutting off the power just to protect their liability rear end. I'd rather use a different name, but you get the idea. And that to me is what it's all about. It's all about the money. When you look at starting fires, most of the fires are started by
power lines.
people. No, not power lines.
No, they
No,
are.
no.
94% are electric lines.
Humans. Humans. You can ask. You can ask the fire officials. This is the information. Most of the fires are started by human beings. Human beings doing dumb stuff. You know, going out with equipment, high winds, sparks of fire. A car alongside the road, sparks of fire. So the lines, and we remember '07, SDG&E was responsible for starting those fires. Now, sure, my position has been SDG&E should have and should now invest heavily on making all of their equipment fire safe. They've started changing out wood poles for steel, widening the spacing between the lines. That's what caused the '07 fire. It was the arcing of those lines. When the lines come together, they spark, they started the fires. So changing out the poles, widening the spacing on the lines, in other words, making all their equipment more fire safe. Their own report says that job is not going to be done until 2027. 2027. In my opinion, that is totally irresponsible, totally unacceptable. And instead of SDG&E and these guys that are here, they don't make the decisions. They're the PR guys. You know, they're here to try to help you. The decisions are made at the higher level of management in the company to do this. And it's all about saving money. And the worst part is we're going to be paying the bill over and over again for the negligent behavior that's occurring. In fact, if you read the paper this morning, PUC just approved another charge to put on the bill to pay for a fund, a fire fund, and ratepayers will pay half, and then the company will pay half. But the question is, why should we have to pay any of it? We shouldn't. Anyway, and also, and I don't want to get into too much of a debate here. It's my coffee after all, isn't it? But I'm sure that Joe and Mitch, if you want to make any comments, I welcome that.
Sure.
But, you know, I've heard you all brag about what a good job you've done in changing out the poles and making the equipment more fire safe, all the money that's been spent. So if you've done such a good job, guys, then why are you shutting the power on?
Yes.
It's about as simple as that. So, but I do want to talk about a couple other things.
Do you want me to speak now? Or?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I want to know why we don't get underground power lines like Laguna does.
$1,000 a foot.
I don't care.
$3 million a month. My name's Mitch Mitchell, and first of all, I want to thank the supervisor for asking us to be here, and for you all being here this morning. I have been on the phone with the Office of Emergency Services this morning in the governor's office. As you can tell, the state, the entire state is on high alert. Today is going to be a tough day, and tomorrow's going to be a tough day. I was in the Emergency Operations Center in 2007, and I remember the devastation and the shock that was happening. And I will tell you that as a company, that was a rude awakening for us. We had never studied the science of wind and weather and humidity and moisture and all those contents. We were your utility. We ran the lines and the poles and the wires. From that fire on, we began a journey that was really important to us because we knew it was important to our customers. And I've been a part of that since the very beginning. And I remember being in front of people and talking about what were we going to do differently. And what I would tell you today is we are doing things differently than any other utility in the country, if not the state, and the state, including the state. As the supervisor said, we realized that the old standard that the state asked us to build a system to, of a 55-mile-an-hour standard, wind standard, was no longer acceptable. I mean, you were outside today, and the wind's blowing a lot harder than 55 miles an hour. And so we began rebuilding our system to an 85 to 100-mile-an-hour standard, more along the lines of what they have in hurricane states. We knew that was important because, the supervisor mentioned, we couldn't afford to have lines arcing, creating sparks. We couldn't afford to have poles blow down in the high winds and starting fires. We began researching technology. We have a new technology that's called the wire down technology that we're trying to get the state to fund, which would allow us that if a wire breaks or snaps for any reason, it immediately de-energizes, so when it hits the ground, no fires can start. You know, we've changed our ways and our philosophy because we know this is about people and property and safety. Now, on the public safety shutoffs, the public safety power shutoffs, we were the first to talk about doing this, and we knew that it was a shock to the system because our job is to keep the power on, it's not to turn the power off. But we started this because we knew we had to change the system, and as the supervisor mentioned the dates it's going to take, part of the rationale, the reason it takes us so long to do anything is we have environmental obstacles that we have environmental reviews, we have PUC reviews, we have the state reviews, that the process takes longer. We would like to go faster in many instances, but there are a lot of things that we have to listen to the state and we can't do until we get the green light or they come down on us. And so we'd love to be able to say, hey, in the next 2 years, we're going to get a lot of things done, but that's going to come down to the state and the state process. But the power shutoff is occurring because, again, even when we harden the structure, we can change a pole from wood to steel, make sure that we've tightened up all the wires. When the wind blows at 85 miles an hour, it's not the poles and the wires, it's the stuff around the poles and wires. It's the environment, it's the shrub, it's the brush, it's tumbleweeds. And that's the hard part. This morning, after midnight at Sill Hill, we were seeing wind speeds above 90 miles an hour. And we felt it was the safest thing for the residents in Sill Hill to turn the power off because of the possibility that at 90-mile-an-hour winds, something was going to blow into a line. And if something blows into a line, a fire starts. And evacuating people when a fire starts is difficult. We've all witnessed the horrific situations that went on in Northern California in 2017 and 2018. I remember talking to the governor's office in 2017. It was really sad to hear about 70 people losing their lives. It was really sad last year, Camp Fire. They did not implement the system that we have in place. But today, everybody's being asked to do the same thing, is to shut off the power when the danger level rises. Low humidity, dry brush and shrubs, and high winds are not a recipe for good things. And we hate shutting the power off. I was on the phone last night with the Office of Emergency Services. We've built our weather system. The supervisor talked about the National Weather Service. They depend on us a lot now. I will invite anybody in this room to come down to our weather center and see how we monitor Julian. We have 190 weather stations, cameras all over, so we can see everything that's happening. On our objective, and if the chief were here, I know he had to leave, he will tell you that he uses the system we built today to be more proactive and better at the job than ever before, because we can look at a fire immediately, get cameras on it to the exact latitude and longitude, and they then use that measurement to realize what they need to send. That's why you heard so many fire engines, is what seems like a small fire and high winds can turn into a massive fire, and that's why they're not taking any chances. But I would invite all of you to come down to the Weather Center, because I want you to see what we're looking at when we're making this decision. This isn't just about us. I'm on the senior management team. And I always tell people, we have to come out and look all of you in the eye when it's all said and done and explain what happened and what we can do better and ask what we can do better, because that's really what it's about, is what we do better. We can make 2 more points. In 2007, after those fires, I remember going to Walt Eckers in the county and saying, you know what? we have a new norm. More dangerous now than ever. We've clocked wind speeds at Sill Hill to 101 miles an hour. That's dangerous. So can we start talking about what we can do with the county? Setting up community resource centers. Pre-wiring them, putting transfer switches in so that we can open them up when the power has to go out and people have a place to go and recharge their phones and be safe and get information. And back then it was so new, we were told no. We talked about generators because that's the one thing when you go through this, you discover the holes in the system. You know, how you move well, how you operate your well, how you keep the fire department with the resources they need. And we talked about putting in battery storage and generators at the fire stations so that they can open up their doors and still respond. We talked about what we needed to do with regard to well. We still remain open to that conversation about how we can help. We talked about with the state and with the county that we have a medical baseline population that we cherish. We know that they are in a special rate because they have medical needs. Sometimes they have motorized chairs. Sometimes it's about breathing apparatus and ventilators. And one of the things that we've asked the state for a few years is give us the ability to collect better information about our medical baseline customers. I want to know if someone has a medical device that has to be plugged in at all times and they're at risk if the power goes out, because we want to provide some resource. I want to know if they have mobility challenges, because if the power goes out and we have to evacuate, we want to know how much, where they are so we can help get them to a safe space. But these are all holes in the system that we identified 10 years ago, and we are eager to try and close some of those gaps today because it's more dangerous now than ever. This is not about us being right on everything. This is about us being open to suggestions and to requests. I went to Warner Springs, met with them, and we talked about the corridor that they're in. And they said, look, Mitch, we just need some help. We need a place to go. Can you set up our community resource center here? And can you provide this? There were questions about the state. They said this time of year when there's tumbleweeds blowing everywhere, why can't Caltrans pick up some of the dead brush and the tumbleweeds? We helped pull that meeting together. And the state has agreed to do that because they realize that is an obligation that we're all in this together. And so, you know, again, we are open to suggestions. We are all in this together. Your safety is our biggest concern. And we're 10 years ahead of all the other utilities in terms of the system changes. We're not going to stop until we're done. So.
Let me interrupt you just a minute. There is smoke coming up from over about Witch Creek right now.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And there goes another one going down, so I think you had better get to going.
Well, all my folks are in the Emergency Operations Center. They were the ones that identified the fire, and that's why you saw the chief run out. So, yes, sir.
I really,
Oh, yes, go ahead. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, I apologize. You were ahead.
I really appreciate you coming out, and I just want to make a suggestion because I have to say I was one of the people in the beginning because I worked from home a lot, and I was like annoyed as heck.
Yeah.
But I actually really took the time to educate myself and to become aware that, you know, the fact of the matter is SDG&E is an easy villain. You know, you have money or your CEO is paid well or something like that. You're an easy villain for something that is really an act of God, the universe, whatever you want to call it. You know, we have decreased rainfall, we have higher fire risk, we have more winds, there's weather patterns, climate change, whatever you want to call it. That's not SDG&E's fault, but I appreciate what SDG&E has done to respond to it. My original thought was, why don't you just put all the wires underground? Sure. What's the problem? It's $1,000 a foot, and that cost would have to be passed on to us. And it's completely unaffordable for people, and you have to try to keep the product somewhat affordable. So I appreciate SDG&E being proactive. Initially, I was like, this is ridiculous. But once I really took the time to educate myself and also realize I chose to live here. So I also chose to get myself down to Costco and get myself a generator and learn how to use it.
I appreciate those comments, and I will say, look, I will say this is important. This time of year, a go bag, all the things you need to do to be safe. Please don't take that for granted. I mean, I say that with all sincerity. And on the undergrounding, most of you may not know this. We're the only utility with 60% of our system underground in the country. 60%. And we are trying to work as hard as we can to address the remaining 40%. Some of it is in terrain that's rocky and it's really difficult, and we're trying to make a decision about what's the best way to do that. But we are going to continue to make progress. We are not standing at 60% saying no more. We're going to continue to try and put more of our lines underground because we realize that that is one of the safest things we can do. Sometimes when things go wrong, when the lines are buried underground, it takes longer to fix, but so be it. But we are trying to put it underground, and we're looking at the best way to do that and the fastest way. And will 100% be underground? No. But will it be more than 60 over the next 5 years? Yes. So.
This is great, but we came to hear Dianne.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, this is important.
You asked about utilities getting ready to help out for people that need it. How about helping utilities? In the case, for example, of Majestic Pines, CSD Water District, we have several houses that are above the water table for the water tanks. We also have 2 critical fire hydrants that need to be supplied with water when should something happens down in Bannergrade. So we are very concerned as board members all together. We pride ourselves to have a good infrastructure in place, but now the new variable came in there with you shutting power off. We have written you several letters asking for assistance in purchasing a generator because it's an additional financial burden that we have to carry. We made the decision already to purchase a generator, which is going to be installed, but there is lead time for the product to be delivered. So now the Santa Ana season has started again. Again, we have written you several letters asking for financial assistance possibly, or to help us out. We haven't even gotten an answer. I would like an answer in this forum.
I'll give you
Perhaps you can address it?
Yes, I can. Joe, are you aware of the letter?
Yes, community relations took a look at it, and they're not.
Okay, will you send me that letter? What we discovered when we went through this in 2007, 2008 was most of the water districts are not equipped with generators. That was a surprise to us. I was at Valley Center. I was in Ramona. We bought a pool of generators to loan the water districts during times of this, like this, because we understand the importance. So what I will do is look at the letter. I mean, there's a possibility we could give you a generator to utilize during Santa Ana season. What we didn't do is we found out that a number of the water districts said, hey, look, we have needs. We were trying to make a decision when we bought all the pool of generators. We said it's easy for us to own them and then loan them out, because if we get into a situation where we're buying all the water districts generators, that's a cost that we wanted to avoid passing on to the ratepayers. So I will take a look at your letter, and Joe, what we'll try and do is, if we can work out a generator loan for them for the Santa Ana season, we'll try and do that immediately. So I'll take that. I apologize for you not getting a response.
Thank you. I mean, those are the houses, and especially the fire hydrants where we are concerned.
Yes.
We have to push the water uphill there with booster pumps.
Yes.
And we need electricity.
Okay. That's
so
fair.
This is why this is a concern of us. Some of the houses do not have water right now.
Okay, that's fine.
So maybe we are doing something with trucks or whatever, but you know, those are issues we have right now.
Yes, I appreciate
you bringing it up today.
Yep, I appreciate you bringing that up, and we will take that immediately.
Appreciate it.
Hey, you picked the wrong day to come here.
I'm always amazed, and I'm always the one they send out on these days, right? I keep going, am I leaving the room at the wrong time? So yes. But go ahead.
Okay, so I think, well, they've been up here for like 40 years. So I think one thing people should do is take some responsibility to take care of themselves. You got to be prepared. You can't go a day without power without going crazy. There's something wrong, and that doesn't apply to SDs. We went through the 2003 fire. That wasn't started by them. We've had helicopters start fire. So your responsibility, as I see it, is just to supply us your best bet on power. It's just the best job. But I do have one question. I think you have such cloud as a company and everything. Is it possible, I'm not asking you to subsidize it, but is it possible with that kind of cloud, maybe like a mass buy generator or something like that, where we pay for our own generator? I mean, we have a backup, but if you...
That's a great question. Yeah.
But they can get it at a substantially reduced price because it's such a large quantity.
Absolutely. That's a great question. I'll tell you what, Joe, let's make a note of that, because we do have generator partners. Let me see what we can do, because that's a great question, and I think it should be possible that we do as a big company. I think most of our generator partners are going to want to help us in this situation, and if we can create a program, which I will work on immediately, we'll make it available, but that is a great suggestion, and I will definitely address that. I think we can make that happen.
Subsidized
No,
by SDG&E, but it's net buying power.
I agree. We can get you a much better price. That's a great question.
Good suggestion.
Yes, I'm probably in the minority in my view, but I was trapped in the witch fire, and had there been
De-energization.
so words are hard. So de-energization
De-energization.
of the line, my roof would not have caught on fire. So I appreciate that it's done because it's keeping us alive, whether we like it or not. They don't like it, we lose money. We don't like it, we lose services. But the truth is, it's keeping us alive. In a case like this, if a wire snaps, they don't have it yeah, thank you. If they don't have that in place, we're going to burn, and this beats the hell out of becoming another paradise.
People in the back can't hear.
Yes,
Oh.
I'll answer your
Is
question.
that a question or just a comment?
No,
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And listen, I will say this to you. Again, our biggest concern is safety. We've always worried about evacuations. We will do whatever it takes to keep a fire from starting, and because it is about lives. And for those who've never been up to Paradise, I mean, it breaks your heart, and we don't want to have that same situation ever happen again. So, yeah.
You keep talking about the expense of the gas and electric. Last year, in April, when Julian had 3 snows, my electric bill was $800, and I only heat with my fireplace.
And I will tell you the answer why. The legislature never approved this, but the PUC decided to implement what's called a high usage charge on their own. And we fought it. We filed an application and said this is wrong. It's unfair to do to the residents on the eastern part of our service area. They did nothing wrong. And what the PUC said was, we want to incentivize them to use less energy. So if we charge more, maybe they'll use less. It was the most distasteful, disruptive, disrespectful decision ever made by the PUC with regard to customers. And that's why we said get rid of it. And they told us to go away. So it's sad. So, yes, ma'am.
I'm not of the sector and from Delta Valley. We don't get electricity when you have no wind or nothing down there. And also, we sent several letters. We never got an answer from you either.
About what? About what is it?
We don't get any electricity going down the hill. It's going actually all the way down to Interstate 8. We don't have any electricity. And we also sent several letters. We never got even an answer.
Joe, I've got some information. We were out on Wednesday when Feeding San Diego was out there and saw the lines and needs for the community. So we've referred that back to the folks that organize our Community Resource Center as a possibility of something that we can do in the future.
Okay, we'll fast track that. I think that yes.
Also, we cannot understand why you guys, when we do post numbers with spaces, that we don't have those electricity things going get together in the spark. Yeah. We didn't understand that you have to turn off the electricity, really.
Okay. Well, we will get on that immediately. Joe, I think the best thing would be for a community resource center. So we will get on that. And I apologize that if you've ever written letters and we are not responding, get a letter to Joe or me. I'm sure the supervisor's office will give you my number, and I will make sure that I'm sure that she will. She'll probably give you all my numbers, and I will gladly respond. So, again, we will be doing everything we can to again keep everything at peace, no fires, and everybody stay safe. Again, please prepare. That's the biggest thing we can tell you is please prepare, be prepared. So, all right. Yes, ma'am.
I want to thank Mitch and Joe for coming out on our invitation. I think it's important to know what they're doing and everything. And I have acknowledged several times, I'll do it again. It's true, SDG&E, of all the utilities in the state, has done more. And that's been acknowledged by the governor. I acknowledge that. But the problem that I have is, we all knew about this in 2007. Had the job been done and the investment made initially to make all the equipment fire safe, there would be no need to proactively shut off the power. That's a fact. Now, on the environmental, you say Mitch, you said that the environmental is slowing you up, and that's why it's going to take 20 years to get this done.
I didn't say 20 years, but I did say that
Well,
we
it's
do
in
some
your
years.
report.
Okay.
It's in your report. You're not going to be done until 2027. It's your report, not mine.
Sure.
Anybody else? So, I know the governor waived the environmental review for fire breaks throughout the state. So,
We're hoping he does the same thing for some of the
Have you
construction.
asked?
We have. Matter of fact, yesterday I was with Kate Gordon, and I made that specific request that they give us
Like
some.
it.
Well,
Okay.
I think one of the things I'd say on the supervisor's response was in '07. She's right. We were not doing the things that we're doing today. But remember, when we started this, everybody looked at us like we were crazy because they didn't believe that the climate was changing the way we were describing it. And so up to that point, if we had asked to do some of these things, they would have said, no, that's an added expense that you should not be doing because the climate has not changed to that point. It is only, and the supervisors can acknowledge this, 2 years ago when Sonoma and Napa broke out, the fires broke out there, and unfortunately people lost their lives, the state finally acknowledged, everybody in the state, all the utilities, this is real, everybody needs to do what SDG&E's been doing. But up until that point in '07, there wasn't this understanding of the dangerous conditions. It was, we were doing a lot of this on our own, being criticized at the same time, and that's why we're 10 years ahead of everybody else, and why more of our systems harden, and so that's why.
and that's good, Mitch. And I'll tell you what, you recently made the request to the governor to waive the environmental so we can get this all done quicker.
Yes.
I'm happy to
Support
that. Let me know.
I will.
Take it to my board to
Love
get
to.
support, whatever we want to do,
Good.
because that job needs to get done
We agree.
sooner rather than later.
You and I agree.
So,
I will be in touch.
And I acknowledge that they're doing the best that they can under the current circumstances. My point is, these circumstances did not have to exist had the process and the investment been made earlier. So they're, yeah.
I'd like to differ with the assessment that it's climate change that has caused these conditions. I've been here 68 years and this east wind's been blowing this hard.
I didn't say it, he said it.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is the state, when we started this journey, the state was, we were saying, hey, we're seeing climate changing, the climate changes are happening, and they were like,
I've been pretty naive to not know this wind.
It's decreased rainfall. I mean,
yeah, it is, but that's what, our droughts are more severe.
It's not.
I mean, our droughts are more severe. One of the things that we do is we have the largest privately owned air water drop resource in the country that we have been keeping here. When we finished building our Sunrise PowerLink project, I remember talking to the COO and saying we should keep that helitanker here in the region because it will become vital as it's hotter and drier. And what has happened is the decreased rainfall. It doesn't rain nearly as much. Even with all the rain we had last January and all the snow, the green quickly became brown and gray. And there's more fuel out there now than ever. And so you're right. It's been blowing. The wind's been blowing back out here for a long time. But we didn't have everybody in agreement with us because we didn't have a way to measure it. Today we can measure it on the minute, and that's why when we showed people 101 miles an hour at Sill Hill. I mean, I wouldn't let the supervisor get out of the car at Sill Hill when the wind's blowing 100 miles an hour. It's dangerous. And no one believed us until we actually proved that the wind blows that hard in this backside of San Diego. So, yes, sir.
I'm real concerned right now. My son and daughter-in-law live in Santa Clarita.
Yes, sir.
And
my heart goes,
yeah. He's at work. He's in the movie industry. And he was at work. My daughter-in-law works at home. She gets a phone call, power's going off. There might be evacuation. She looks out the window and there's the flames. So she turned around. They met each other at a Starbucks, and they're in Burbank right now. But and they can't get back. So they don't know what's happened and all. And the thing was, she's got the phone call and seeing the flames at the same time. So I know that hasn't happened here in San Diego County, but this is LA. And those fires just sprung up so fast. It's the lick fire that's affecting Canyon
You want to
Country.
give everybody an update on what came down on the Bush Creek fire? Yeah, in case somebody wants to leave.
Well, I'm just saying, sometimes communication isn't out there ready enough for us to be alerted.
Yes, sir. And one of the things I will tell everybody in the room, if you have not done this, make sure that you register your cell phone on the reverse 911 call system.
Excuse me, I think it's more important to get an update on this fire.
Sure.
Could you stand up?
Pretty bad, yeah.
Stand up? Sure.
Yeah, we do the East County Wildfire Emergency Alerts, but they've just closed down Highway 78 in both directions in Ramona because of the fire, and unfortunately because of the high winds, we're hearing they've called off the fixed-wing aircraft, according to the incident commander I just heard from the SCGD folks. They are evacuating people and horses in the area. We have a confirmed report that it might be 40 to 60 acres now.
Anyone with horse
the
trailers
tracker
on
over the, oh, I've got the scanners. It sounds like they're under. But anyway, anyone's down in that area or needs to go home back to San Diego, you may get a route. Fire is kind of alert on Twitter and retweeting stuff too, as well as of course following Cal Fire alerts and county emergency alerts. 211 if not all those.
The winds are a problem. We've picked up additional water resources, air resources that we're working with the county on, but when the winds are blowing this hard, it's hard to put them in the air. So.
They did at least one drop, my son texted
Okay,
me.
good.
The pilots will determine whether it's safe to fly. Those are some.
We need our wells.
Yeah.
I have a question, please. This gentleman said that 10 years ago, he tried to work with the county on issues where we would have batteries and generators, and the county still says, no, they're not open to that. Why aren't you working with SDG&E instead of criticizing them?
No, we have been working with SCG&E.
He just said, no, you have not.
10 years ago, we
No,
were.
that's
I'm
not.
sorry, my house is probably on fire.
Well, just so you know, that was a conversation with the prior CAO. I was not involved in that, so just so
Could we
you
get
know.
a more precise location of the fire in Ramona?
I mean,
Near the Camel Ranch.
Yeah, 68. But just don't get me wrong. I call spade, I call it as I see it. We have worked with SDG&E over the years. The county has worked with SDG&E as much as we possibly can. And I acknowledge when they do something good, but I'm also going to call out what I think has been wrong and that should have been corrected and can be corrected right now today. And we work together and get the governor to waive the environmental process to get the job done in terms of making their equipment safe. There would not have to be power shutoffs. So let's get to work on that, Mitch.
I will agree working with the supervisor again. I think that
should have happened
10 years ago when we wanted to do some of these things, we were ahead of our time.
Okay, we can't go back. We can't go back. Somebody mentioned another question.
Well, I was just going to say thank you for bringing a generator in town.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
No, thank you very much.
That's why we have light.
Yes, sir. And we're going to keep that here because.
And we have, by the way, there is a fund for undergrounding utilities. All of us pay for it. And that's how the lines along Main Street and Julian got undergrounded. So there's a lot more to be done.
Is there a way for us as a community to get the information that there is a generator or that the center is open in the Whispering? Is it Whispering?
The community resource center?
Yeah, I mean, would it be on the website? I mean.
Yeah, Joe, what I would say what we probably should do is ask you guys where are the best places to put that information, because you're right. Once we open it, we want you to know that it's open. I think we opened up 7 additional resource centers this morning. We had 2 open yesterday.
Well,
we want to communicate.
Because somebody in town hall posted it.
Joe, let's work. Let's see if obviously we can work with the supervisor's office, but we also need to get it on a common website that everybody in Julian checks. So we'll work on that.
Everybody should have readysandiego.org, that app, and that is the correct information right out of the county operations center. It's where all the news media get their information, and it may lag a little bit, but we want to make sure the information is correct that goes out to the public, and there's actually a map on that too. So if you don't have that app downloaded, and you can get alerts too. readysandiego.org. And make sure your cell phones are registered for the alerts too. So
I got a phone call this morning from, automated from SDG&E saying that the Community Resource Center was open.
good.
So we just need to make sure we have the correct information for everybody. We do an outbound dial telling you that it is open. So please double check that we have your correct phone information as well.
Okay.
In the back?
Yes, my name is Oki McNabb. I'm the commander of the American Legion here in town. Most people don't know. I don't know if a lot of people know this, and I don't know if you do, Supervisor Jacobs, but our post, as far as I know, has always been an emergency fallout area. So I don't know. We have over 300 cots up in our attic. We have a 20 kVW generator. So if there ever is an emergency, or like the other day when the power went out for no reason that we knew of, we actually start up immediately. We actually have plug-ins. We've actually had quadriplegics show up at our post. So, you know, maybe we should let people know that we are open to the public when these emergencies take place. So.
And Red Cross?
I'm sorry?
The Red Cross comes?
That I don't know. I've not dealt with the Red Cross coming up there. I just know that we are an emergency fallout area for an emergency type situation.
Yeah, that needs to get in the whole emergency disaster plan, which interestingly enough, we're having a report to the Board of Supervisors next Tuesday on, in terms of communities, the emergency evacuation routes or lack thereof, and also a report on the different areas. But that's good for the community to know. If there is a way to get that out to the community, that would be critical too. That's helpful. Yes.
I'm concerned about what fire coverage is in Julian right now when everybody has left and we don't have our volunteers.
I can't answer that question. I mean, that would be, have to come from a fire official. They're here but left to tend to the fire that's.
But what is the plan when equipment goes off the hill to a fire? Julian is left uncovered, or you have people coming from another station?
Yes.
This is your area. What is the plan?
I'm not the fire official.
No, but you are you're part of the
It's
plan
true.
to have this covered.
No, that's true. But I am not in charge of the operations of the fire department or what occurs here in Julian. That's an operation.
You got rid of our volunteers.
Yes.
I mean, somebody in the, yes ma'am.
Dianne, in 2003 on our Cedar fires, they had evacuated Julian, but there were all kinds of people up here, and the deputies were going around house to house, but there were all kinds of people up here. And this is, do we need a siren or something to alert people that, you know, there's a fire? Because I was going down Banner and telling people to get out, and it just seems like, I mean, I realize our population is really senior, and how do we alert everybody?
There is an alert system.
I know the phone, but what if they don't do the phone?
You should have a radio and battery radio, have the alert sign up on,
You know they
on your
don't.
phone. Well, they do. They notify you. I mean, that's a part of the system. We've come a long way since then. Somebody mentioned earlier about the rates and the electricity rates. Yeah.
800
So
bucks.
what the county has done just last couple of weeks ago is we took a vote to give people a choice on where you buy your electricity. Simple as that. So it's going to take some time to get there, but we believe that it's important for you to have a choice. It's only the one line on your electricity bill, and it's electricity. There's all these other charges, but right now you have no choice as to where you can go to buy that electricity. It's only SDG&E. So what we want to do is give you a choice, like the county's had choice over the years, and we have saved millions of dollars by doing that. So that is something to look forward to. It's a very ambitious plan, but I think, and I believe that the experts that have provided us the information say worst case scenario, a very conservative estimate would be on that electricity charge, you could save 5 to 6%. So you figure how that would be. And we would have control over some of the things that you've talked about as far as the prices go too. So we'll see in the future how that goes, or whether the PUC is going to just say, okay, then we'll charge people more on the other side, on the distribution side, but we'll see. Are you interested in talking about other things or not? Okay, because I want to, yes, Kiki?
So this is related, but it also is another thing. The county is currently considering a policy, I believe considering, that would limit clearing to 5 acres without special permits and lots of fees. Now, it doesn't define clearing, but a certain amount of brushing and clearing for grazing will help reduce the fire hazard.
Absolutely.
And we would like to have your help making sure that cattlemen and those people who are clearing brush off of land in order to have the natural grasses come back so their cattle can graze, don't have to pay all kinds of fees in order to get permission to do this.
Kiki, you can do it now. You can do it now. When you talk clearing, be careful, because you don't want to just have a bulldozer scrape down to the dirt. That really is not the best way to provide the defensible space that you're talking about, but to cut it down. And that's the best way to do it, to provide that defensible space. You talked about 5 acres. That's basically for, you know, if you're building something, yeah, you don't, that's in place right now.
Linked to agriculture, but I've read the proposal, and it doesn't define what clearing means.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure that we can clear as much as possible to get some of that brush off of the fields and pastures.
And as long as you have an okay from the fire official, you're good to go. But now, I mean, they're recommending 100 feet. But one of the things that we're getting separated on the brushing and clearing is agriculture versus building a structure. And right now, it's the same rules. And I think what you've discovered is that we separate out agriculture, which is a lot different when you're talking about doing some brushing and clearing.
But you have to separate agriculture from cattle ranching, I think.
Well,
because the clearing for cattle ranching is very different than if you're going to plant wheat or something.
that's true. That's true. And that can happen today. I mean, goats, cattle, whatever eats it, you know, a lot to be done. Let me talk about the new rules on accessory dwelling units, because that sparked, I shouldn't say sparked, a lot of bad choice of words. A lot of interest in the unincorporated area communities. And the idea behind it, actually the state law changed a while ago that allowed the county to be able to provide this opportunity. They used to be known as granny flats, but the granny flat, you couldn't have a kitchen or laundry or anything. So what the state said is you can have, call them an accessory dwelling unit on your property. That can be up to 1,200 square feet, and it can be fully loaded. You know, your kitchen, your laundry. I mean, it's another dwelling, and this, I think, is a real opportunity for property owners to providing some very affordable housing. And maybe it's, you know, you have a big house that you've lived in, you want your kids to come live, you could live in that, have your kids have the big house, or put the kids in the little house, however you'd want to do it. Or you could rent it out. But you have to have an existing house on the property, first of all, and then if you want to build one of these, then you don't have to live there. You could rent both out. So it's a way to provide some additional income, and also we've provided some incentives for people to do that. We have waived the building permit fees to do that, which I'm told would cost about $15,000. And also we have some stock plans. Now the architects don't particularly like this, but they're off-the-shelf plans. They're readily available. Dennis from the planning department is right here. And one's for a 600 square foot unit. The other one would be a 1,200 square foot unit. So that's another savings because you don't have to hire an architect. So it's estimated that to be right off the top about $30,000 savings. And what we want to do as a board to provide that kind of an incentive for people to do this. We've got, in the unincorporated area alone, we've got 172,000 existing homes on existing lots. And I think there's a real opportunity, not just for the property owner, but to provide, you know, what we need in our county is some affordable housing in the area. It needs to be compatible with the main unit so that, you know, you retain your community character, but it is an opportunity for that. Questions on that? There usually are. No questions? Yes.
What about school fees and park fees and all that? That's still ready against them?
That's, I don't know, Dennis, do we run into school fees and park fees? And, I mean, park fees would be county fees, so.
Yeah, so the impact fees that are not generated are not
Please
covered.
stand up.
Sorry. The impact fees that are not covered by the county are not things that we can waive. So school fees, you'd have to talk to local school districts to find out what those are. Water districts, if they still have fees, you'd have to look at that. And then fire district fees. So the things that we do cover are your traffic impact fees, the park fees, your building plan check and permit fees, things of that nature that we do have control over.
And not school fees or fire fees.
And I have some of the plans. We also have another 2 more sets of plans. We have another 1,200 square foot model that we have available and also an 800 square foot model. So I brought the plans to show people if they want to see what they look like, but they're available online. So feel free to stop by. I'll stick around afterwards.
Are those usable up here?
Yeah, Julian, they're designed to be used in fire zones and they're designed to be used in any seismic or wind area. So.
I'll give you a quick
plans available for free to people?
Yes, free.
How much would you be saving if you use one of your free plans?
I think that was what Supervisor Jacob.
About another 15,000. So
On top of the fees?
Right.
Waiving the fees?
So 15 on the fees, 15 for the plans. So off the top, about $30,000 savings. So update on the fire. Fire is now 60 acres. Temporary evacuation point is at Ramona Rodeo Grounds, and Red Cross preparing shelter at Ramona High School. Evacuations are taking place on Sade Truck Trail, Little Page Road, Little Page Lane, Old Julian Highway, Creek Hollow Drive, and Creek Hollow Road. Eastbound Highway 78 is closed from 3rd Street to Old Julian Highway. And go to Alert San Diego for the updates.
There's also a car fire now on Highway 607 Johnson Mills.
Car fire, okay. All right.
So is that a CAL FIRE incident? Did we look at the CAL FIRE site and find that?
Yes.
The fire.
Yes.
I think the biggest limitation on the accessory dwelling units is leach field area and septic systems.
Down Santa Isabel, obviously, and you know where the Julian Pie Company is and Dudley's Bakery. Well, it's across the road to the east of that. There's 86 acres. This nature center really sits approximately where San Diego River and the San Diego River converge. So, and it will highlight a lot of the resources in the area, Vulcan Mountain for one, and then and the habitat and the trails and all the people enjoy and why we live out here, and the beauty of the area, animals and plants and all that. So.
And thank you for bringing that to our community.
And the opening is December 14th, Saturday, December 14th, and there are flyers in the back, yep, on the back table, so grab one, you're all invited. So it will be a grand opening. It's the only nature center in the eastern part of the county. The other nature centers are on the coast, so
Thank you.
be special.
Good job.
Thank you.
With this here museum going in, some of us back here know about open space. Why was open space used to put this museum in?
Nature center?
Void for open space. Open space is to be open space. not to be put anything in it.
No, that's,
So that was Sonny Cos's property. It was open space. And
this,
it goes over the hill for the trails and everything else.
no, you're thinking of the preserve. No, the Nature Center was owned by Trust for Public Lands. And Trust for Public Lands asked the county if we wanted it.
Well,
So
that shows open space.
it's a different piece of property.
Well, we went through the town, we went through planning, didn't we?
Yeah, we did look at it in planning, and one of the things that did come up that was still a bit of a worry. There's a question of whether you want to have more buildings in the San Isabel Valley or not, and there are both people on both sides, and I'm not going to go into that. But the way the road goes is it comes out on the highway at a point where people having made the turn are going to be at full speed. And we had suggested that it go along not go across the middle of the meadow, but go along the fence that's closer to the post office.
I remember that, Kiki, and I think the reason, if I remember correctly, is there was some environmental concerns with.
Yeah, it was a creek or the river or something, but there are such a thing as culverts because the highway goes right across. Anyway,
it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. That's all I can say at this point. So, what else do you want to talk about today? I mean, I have a whole list we can go through if you want.
Is the county taking any position on short-term rentals in the backcountry?
No, not yet. Not yet. No. No, big debate in the city about it. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that as long as you play by the rules, what I mean by that, you don't disturb neighbors and you're considerate of the community, it's okay. But what's going to spoil the whole thing on the short-term rental thing, if any you're involved in it, is people that allow big parties in. They have huge homes, they bring big parties in, they're disturbing the neighborhood, trash, and the character of the community. And that, I've had complaints from Mount Helix area. Haven't heard lately from San Diego Country Estates, but there was a concern there. But that's something their HOA should be dealing with, not the county. But what we're trying to do is, now let me back up. If anything is done on this, it applies to the entire unincorporated area. That's the problem. I'm not hearing that it's a big problem in the entire unincorporated area. I'm only hearing right now from the Mount Helix area, there's some huge homes and party people. There already are laws on the books on noise and disturbance and public nuisance and all that kind of thing. So that is the effort right now that we're trying to do. And then if they want to do something in that area, the suggestion is they need to have a community plan update focused to that area to do what they want to do instead of affecting the entire unincorporated area. So there's nothing now that's moving forward on that.
I think it's affecting housing.
Affordable housing and rentals.
Oh, it is.
Big
Because
time.
we're a tourist community.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
Here?
so they're, it's like what used to be affordable rental is now a little, B&B or something.
Right, it's really affecting our economy here.
Very much.
Wouldn't it be easier to have?
In a bad way?
Yes.
In a bad way. Interesting.
Yeah, if you're looking for an affordable rental,
Haven't heard.
it's very difficult.
Well, the employees that work in the restaurants, for instance, can't find housing.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
It has a dramatic effect on the people that would work in service jobs.
Right.
They can't find a place to live because now you may not be able to do anything about that, but they have to drive from long distances away because they can't find affordable housing in the communities that are outlying. It's pretty unique to the backcountry,
Unique to Julian because we're a tourist community.
See, I hadn't heard that from Julian.
Right.
What about accessory dwelling units?
Well, good idea.
They're going to turn them into another B&B.
Yeah, see.
No.
It's complicated.
No, you can't. No, that is not allowed. Accessory dwelling units would be long-term rentals, not short-term. That is just allowed.
But you're not going to know unless somebody reports to you.
That's correct. That's also correct. People have a tendency to do that, though. Complain, I know, we get complaints. So, 78 is open now?
78 is open, but turn on the old highway still closed.
But what,
say it again, please.
78 is now reopened in both directions. That's good news. The turnout to Old Julian Highway, though, is still closed, and there's still some evacuations on several streets down that way.
okay. I noticed a couple,
I have a couple of thank yous
Sure.
for you. Again, for your support on the town square project. Do you have any questions about that? But we're moving along nicely, and
Good.
Neighborhood Reinvestment Fund, we're still waiting until we get PLDO funds, crossing our fingers, so that we can make a down payment on that.
great, great.
Thank you for your support.
Very exciting.
It's been fantastic. Yeah, we'll talk about the fundraiser. We're having a fundraiser, by the way, here at Town Hall, November 9th. So you all are welcome. We'll have a band and food donated.
Jean, does everybody know about the proposal for?
I think pretty much. If
Okay.
anybody has any questions about Julian Town Square project,
Yeah.
we're
Really good group.
How many
Yeah.
public bathrooms are gonna be there?
that we haven't decided on bathrooms. We don't know if that's going to be in part of it or not.
That was
The
gonna be
final
my-
plans aren't at all, you know.
That was gonna be my question to you, supervisors. Being a business owner in town and a longtime resident like a lot of these other old timers, Julian's always had a severe problem with public bathrooms.
Yeah, I'm
That's
aware.
something we'll discuss.
It hurts
Yeah.
our businesses up here.
Parking and bathrooms. Find a place and I'll help.
Oh, we need more money for a better sewer system in town.
That's right. There's a big issue right there. We need
Oh, yeah.
additional sewer capacity, big time.
And there are water tanks that need help, and I've helped with that too, so. Bring me proposals, I'll do what I can to help you out.
I had one more thing. I wanted to also thank you for your recommendations, last board of supervisors, for the TRL and for the smoke outdoor dining, eliminating vapes and all that. Totally supportive of that. You know, up here in Julian, our young people work at these restaurants, and they almost all have, a lot of them have patios, and you know, to protect them, smoke outdoor dining is really important, the workers, and of course the community. So super supportive of that. Tobacco retailer licensing is a great way to, you know, help with compliance on those things. My son does compliance checks, has for 4 years, and it's sure accessible and easy for him to get, and it goes in as a minor decoy by product. So accessibility is a huge thing. You know, not all supervisors agree on that, but if you know, make things less accessible, less people will use those products, especially kids. So I totally
Thank you, Jean.
support TRL.
And thank you for coming to the board meeting and your testimony. It all helps. I saw somebody picked up an Alzheimer's brochure, and I just wanted to touch on one of the top priorities. And the county's made sizable investment in trying to help people, particularly caregivers, that are taking care of someone that has Alzheimer's or related dementia. And we've set up a voucher program. It's been a full voucher program for a couple of years to where you can get a break. So if you're a caregiver or you know of someone that's caregiving and they need a break, that's available. But we started one even better than that is in existence right now that I want you to make aware of. It's 50-50. So if someone, and it's no means testing, it's whoever needs a break, if they're taking care of somebody that has Alzheimer's or related dementia, that you put up half the cost and then the caregiver puts up the rest. So the county puts up half, caregiver puts up the other. And there's a cap on the amount. $27 an hour might sound like a lot, but that's the going price for caregiving. So, and I would bet around the room that some of you, maybe you are a caregiver or you know of someone that is, and oftentimes what happens with caregivers is they suffer more than the person that they're taking care of because they don't get that break and they're not taking care of themselves, and they go down, and that we don't want to have happen. So the county has put up $1 million into that program, and that will be ongoing. We're still looking for the cure, and we've got all of our top scientists that work together to try to get that drug discovery, that idea off the shelf and into drug discovery. And we've had some success. We've brought in some money from the National Institute of Health, NIH. It has the money, and I understand Washington has put $1 billion into research. That is huge, because in the past they put like $250,000 into research for Alzheimer's. And they put billions of dollars into cancer research, heart research with the two biggest killers. Alzheimer's is third on the list. And fortunately, the research and the research money from the federal government has paid off, because we know that all people that get cancer don't die of cancer. All people who get heart disease don't die of heart disease, but everybody that is afflicted with Alzheimer's or related dementia dies. There is no cure today. So be careful what you read in the paper. One of the studies that's coming out, though, that has come out, indicates that if you eat healthy, you exercise, and we all know that, no smoking, but there's another element that just recently came to the forefront, and that is socialization. Socialization. Just being in a group, talking to people, interacting with people, helps to decrease your chances of getting this devastating disease. And too many times as people get older, they're isolated, they're alone. And so as a community, it's really important to make sure that if you know people like that, to make sure they're engaged, to make sure they're a part of some group in some way, whether it's playing cards or whatever it is, the socialization. And they have done some studies, and it's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting. So keep that in mind.
In the backcountry, it's real difficult to find caregivers that you can. It's my mother-in-law was in Borrego up until about a little over a year ago, and she's currently in a skilled nursing facility in Poway right now. And so it was kind of like a double whammy, because my husband was the caregiver and was very burdened, driving back and forth with that. And then when she had to go to the hospital and then went into a skilled nursing facility, now he's got Julian to Poway, his commute to visit her, that sort of thing. I was really surprised that there are 0 skilled nursing facilities east of Poway. And so we thought if we could just get her in Ramona, even, it would help ease, his ability to visit and that sort of thing. And so I don't know what the guidelines are for skilled nursing facilities, but
they're privately owned, and it depends on an area and the need. There has to be the demand for it for somebody to come in and put the investment in. Yeah, it's a big issue, and the whole goal, what we're trying to accomplish, is aging in place. Have people age in place. People, as we get older, people want to stay in their own home. So at the county, we have an aging plan. It's a roadmap that we just adopted not too long ago, and it's very comprehensive. In fact, the state has recognized it, and our folks are going to go up and report to the governor and the state people on that. They may use our aging roadmap as a model for the state. So there's a lot to be done. Our population in San Diego over the age of 65 is growing faster than the rest of the age groups. So the need is huge. And to address some of those issues, we're on it. I mean, we're doing as much as we can, but we need to hear from you too as to what those needs are.
More caregivers.
More caregivers. More caregivers. Caregivers need. No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
We could not find hardly anyone down in Borrego to come and alleviate what my husband was doing on top of working.
And the numbers are escalating. they figure probably conservatively right now, people with Alzheimer's, when I say Alzheimer's, it's also related dementia, probably about 85,000, but they figure that number's going to double by the year 2030. I thought that was a long time from that, but it's really not. You know, it's just kind of right around the corner. And the same with the caregivers. We're looking, it's probably 100,000 or more now, looking at doubling that number as the need grows. So it's a crisis. I mean, it's a crisis. We have crisis on many different fronts, but that's a huge one. Yes, sir.
Off and on through the years, I've been reading about how the county has opened up, has bought and opened up some of these, I call them parking rights. The case in point be Iron Mountain, the area back in there where everybody goes and hikes, and over there at Mount Woodson. And I'm wondering why the county doesn't charge to use that on the weekends, you know, per head going back in there. The county buys the property and takes it off the tax roll. And now you're talking about over by Mount Woodson, you're buying another, you know, couple $1 million worth of property because you want to build a bridge. So, you know, the animals, I guess, either build a bridge or put in a tunnel so the animals can, wildlife has a place to go over.
I know what you're talking about.
And you know, you take this stuff off the tax roll and we get nothing back for it, other than for them to go up there and park it. On the weekends, you go out there and you charge $5 a car or $1 a head going out there. I think that's more than pay for a ranger to be out there. And you know, you keep taking all this stuff off the tax roll and giving it away, and I'm just curious as to why on that.
Well, let me tell you what the facts are. How about that? So we had a huge public safety issue along 67 because people were parking along 67 to go up to Potato Chip Rock, very popular. And so in order to try to solve that, I actually put together a meeting with Caltrans, 67 State Highway, fire people, because there's a Cal Fire station over there. And then the county owns some land over there. The 86 acres you're talking about, yes, we bought it, and but it's just purchased at this point. So nothing has really been done. The operations of that are still in discussion. And we're talking about charging people to park there. The first part of that project, and the whole goal is get people off 67 so we don't have somebody killed along the road, running across or parking. They shouldn't be on the east side of the road anymore anyway. Caltrans has put up the no parking signs. So the idea is working with Caltrans to get the entrance approved to get into that 86 acres, go around back to the county property for parking. That won't be enough, but that will be the first phase of the project. And then the second phase will be parts of the 86 acres. Some of that, it's a riparian area, a lot of beautiful oak trees. It's a really nice piece of property. So, but there will be some parking there too, but that's going to take time. So the operations of the parking has not been determined yet. All we've done so far is purchase the property. That took a bit of time to do. But I like the idea of charging. Poway does it, and they receive revenue in order to operate that area. The other aspect is the city of San Diego ought to step up as a partner, and they haven't so far because they have a trail that comes up from the other end, and they have a responsibility too. So to me, it was a public safety issue to try to protect people that want to go up and hike up the Potato Chip Rock.
Well,
Now,
I'm not sure if it's legal for them to park on the state highway. Like, I don't know for a fact, but there was a time that they were citing them for something. But why they don't why they don't, continue to cite them. And why Poway, the sheriff's department out of Poway doesn't cite them, because they run radar checks and stuff right there on Highway 67 for safety reasons. Why don't they enforce the parking thing on Highway 67?
Well, they're supposed to be on the east side of 67, where people parked in the past, and some are still doing it, and they should not. Then they're running across, and the no parking signs are to make sure people know that they shouldn't be parking there and run across the street. They are parking on the other side right now. However, when we get the parking off 67, then I would hope Caltrans will post that, and then the highway patrol is responsible for enforcing the no parking signs.
Because I see over there, over by Mount the Woodson, they took away one lane for about, I don't know what, maybe a couple hundred yards, and by the time people realize that they've already driven in it, you know, to make it safe for the people that are parking on the highway to get out of their cars and walk. And then it comes back into 2 lanes so for about 200 yards, it's narrowed down to under 1 lane, you know. And if they enforce, if you're not allowed to park on the highway, cite them.
Well, absolutely. They have to post the no parking signs where it's not safe, but what you're getting into is the whole Highway 67 fix, which is a big battle at Sandag, who holds the money to fix our roads.
You know they'll never do it.
Well, and finally, I mean, it's going to take a long time, but finally, you know, we won out, and having the road money go for roads, not for transit, and roads that were promised, like 67, 4 lanes from the Dye Road Highland intersection all the way down to Maple View in Lakeside. So I hope I see it in my lifetime. I'm not sure.
They'll take it and put it for mass transit and trolleys and stuff for the city of San Diego.
Well, that's what they were trying to do. That's what they were trying to do, but we beat them back on that. What else you want to talk about today? Or are you all talked out? Yes, sir.
We have a public library. It's
Yes.
a cool center. The power's out and it's locked up when people need it. Why did it, no, before this, it was never locked up when the power was out. So it's useless.
It shouldn't be, and
It is.
Taylor, can you communicate, because I had a conversation, it's probably a couple months ago. There's a plan to put the generators at Julian and Campbell and Boulevard, the backcountry libraries, and it was a 3-year plan. I said, no, that's not acceptable. We need them now, and they should have been here, and we're checking to find out.
It's daylight and you don't need, they can open up the library and people
They
can
could.
go inside there during the day.
We'll find out.
Okay.
We'll find out. That's unacceptable. I agree. Yeah.
Diane, I do have some information on the power to the school, library, and post office. We are looking at that as a potential for some of the funds that are available for underground, whether it's county or SDG. So I'll be following up. We recognize that's a good opportunity.
Joe, that'd be great. Any chance for a generator?
What's that? That's right.
Maybe you all can get a generator at the library faster than the county can.
Could be a race.
Hey, about a race to the finish.
Critical community resource, people really use the library.
Oh, I get it. I understand. Absolutely. Absolutely. Marianne?
Yeah, 2 questions, one on mountain lions and one on fire issues. The mountain lion one's first. It's been brought to my attention, it's confidential, but I know they're kind of sure they're true sources. Within the last few months, there was actually a mountain lion attack on a woman in our mountain areas. It never got reported. My question is, should there be a reporting process? If someone's actually injured or God forbid killed with a wildlife incident like that, should there be a mandatory reporting process of something, of some means? So
Let's take that one. The question, y'all hear it?
No.
I didn't think so. Was on mountain lions. Should there be a reporting process established to report when a mountain lion attacks someone? What do you think?
Well, it seems like there should be.
Well, isn't there?
No.
Only an actual attack, obviously, just things they're being,
Yeah.
menaced or.
Yeah, Fish and Game basically handles that kind of thing, but it's a good question.
I was trying to do research on how many attacks and stuff, and I found out there's at least a couple that didn't make the stats because they didn't get reported anywhere.
Could be, yeah.
So on the one hand,
We'd have to talk to Fish and Game about that, how they handle that.
Okay, we'll do. The other is,
Second?
yeah. The other is, I know there are people who left here because of the fire who wanted to ask questions about the whole transition of the fire department. I don't know exactly what they were going to ask, but my question in general would just be, we've been trying to get a hold of records, and once we get them, we're trying to do a clear-eyed assessment of is the response time better, worse, or the same in general for fire and medical and also accidents. But once we get our hands on that, would you need to go over it with us? And if there are areas that maybe need some improvements where it was better before, to look at maybe getting more resources of some sort to fill any gaps in that might be there. There may not be, but we hear anecdotal things, but I'm trying to get actual data.
Facts are good.
Facts are good.
Happy to do that. Again, I'm not in charge of the operations. It's a policy in. People voted to transfer from the volunteer to the San Diego County Fire Authority. So that's why the process is in place. I know the bottom line because we approved the money that Julian now gets in addition to what you're getting before, $1.5 million annually, which means year-round staffing, 24/7. You've got a paramedic engine additional to the ambulance, paying off the debt. So the $1.5 million on the operational end for staffing and so on, and the ambulance and the paramedics, and then another $1 million paying off the debt for the fire station, and it erases the benefit fee for the fire station. I know that. On the operational end, we can dig deeper on that if you want and find out in more details because it's been up and running. It's still in court, I believe, so we're not through the court process yet, so we don't know what's going to happen there. Mike?
I'm glad to circle back to the fire situation.
Sure.
Thanks for coming today. But today is the perfect day to talk about this. Our protection's leaving as we're sitting here watching them go by. And that's leaving Julian without our first line of protection, and that's the volunteers, who have always worked for 30 plus years with CAL FIRE to take care of business. We help them, they help us. And again, just see it, all of our CAL FIRE's equipment going down the hill to start fight a fire less than an hour from here. If a house fire starts in Julian, there's something. Because we don't have a volunteer fire department that has done so well, like I said, for over 30 years, to protect us, Julianites, not the rest of the world, but us. And I think that the county's, and it's not over yet, if you folks don't know, it's in the courts. We're fighting a real good battle here, and there's a good possibility that we're going to get the volunteers back. We're ready. We were up and going until the court said that we had to close the station, and it's closed to everybody. By the way, CAL FIRE is going in there quite often, and we're keeping them out of there. Nobody's supposed to be in that station right now. So again, I think the county should reconsider what they're doing to us, Julianites, not the county. This is us that we're talking about, our first line of protection. And I think the county ought to reconsider. I know you can't talk about how we firefighters have fought, but so this is just more or less a statement to the county saying that I think they ought to reconsider. I feel way less protected now than I did before this whole thing started.
I appreciate that. And we all have our opinions, but that's why I asked for this to go to a vote in the community to make the determination. So
The way that vote was put up, it would have passed. It was a farce. It was a farce, and you know it was a farce because to vote, if you want us to stay, you vote no. And even when you read the explanation, it said the same way. If you want us to stay, vote no. And it was a very small margin that we lost that vote by. And I would almost guarantee you that if they put it on the ballot the correct way, that we would have won. I almost guarantee you it. Because, like I said, even in the explanation, it didn't explain voting with the And that's the other thing. We should have had a vote in place here to do it, because so many people didn't get the mail, so many people voted fraudulently on that thing, that it was just a bump. We should have had a polling place right here, and it should have been done with Julian in mind, and I don't think it was. So you can't say that, the people spoke, because that's just not right. They didn't speak. I'll guarantee you that.
Well, I would agree with you on one point. I don't think the vote was fair in one regard, because it was only registered voters. There are a lot of property owners that own property here that would have been affected by the outcome of the vote that didn't have a chance to vote. I heard from a lot of those that emailed my office about that. I guess if you're going to have a vote, that everybody that would be affected would have a vote on that issue.
I've got a house in Escondido. I can't vote down there. Why should they should move their voting poll to Julian then if they want to have a say?
Well,
that's countrywide. You have to be in the district you vote for. So why get somebody that doesn't live in the district to vote? Like I said, I have a house in Escondido. I can't vote what they're doing down there.
Because your property is affected by the vote as to whether your property. Anyway, we can go on and on with this debate. Frankly, the almost $3 million the county's putting into this, I could spend it someplace else in another community that wants it. So, I mean, I don't have a vested interest in this. What I've tried to share with folks in the past is lay out the facts, and what I see is the future. I also will say there's been a concern about whether the county fire authority is going to exist into the future or not. Whether or not you voted, you personally, that as a community to put it in the county charter. So it's not going away unless the people vote to take it out of the county charter. So you have the San Diego County Fire Authority in the county charter. It is there in perpetuity. It's not going away. So there's not that risk, and I've heard about that too. So you've got great volunteers. You've had great volunteers in the past, and the people that have served, unsung heroes. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's up to the community. You say it's not a fair vote. I can't argue with that. I don't know if it was or not. I don't know if people felt they were fairly treated or not. Let's see what the courts say. At this point, it's in court. The court will determine, and then I hope in the end that we can lay this issue to rest. We'll get details on the operations. Is it better or not? And then bring the facts to the community. I think that's what you want to know, are the facts. Not hearsay, but the facts as to whether it's an improvement both in medical response times and fire response. And the issue that was brought up today, is the town, I'll use the word naked, nobody.
We are.
It's kind of, yeah, without any protection when everything has gone down the hill. So.
Do we know yet, or has there been any change in our insurance rating? Has it gone up, has it gone down, has there been no change?
Well, I can't tell you right now specifically to Julian because the issue is not resolved yet. But in the other areas of the county fire authority, yes, there's a big change in what's called the ISO rating, the insurance rating. And a lot of the areas were rated 9s and 10s, and it went down to 3 and 3X.
Because people are getting, homeowners insurance cancellations.
Yeah.
So homeowners insurance is a definite concern up here. So I'm just curious how all of this moving and shaking is related to our insurance rating.
Yeah, yet to be determined because, we're kind of in limbo right now. Although, the county is servicing the area. So.
We do have another
update. Yep, another fire update. Taylor, thank you. I want to introduce my staff that's here with me, Taylor and Matthew. So if you have anything for us to follow up on, happy to do it. 75 to 80 acres and zero containment. The Sheriff Department previously sent out Alert San Diego. What's evacuation message, the alert system. Sheriff's Department is sending the second alert informing residents to go to rodeo grounds, not Ramona High School at this point. Tentatively not anticipating additional evacuations. Smoke is dissipating from camera views. 150 firefighters and 6 helicopters are engaged in the fight. So, where we are, hoping, praying that they can get it. You know, something I didn't know a few years ago, maybe you all do, but when they talk about containment, I thought that was, you know, putting out the fire. It's not, it's cutting a line around the fire. And until they completely cut that line around the entire perimeter of the fire, they don't call it contained. So that's containment. It's like, you know, just putting a big circle around. So there's a percentage of containment. So you can visualize, you know, it's a big, like a big fire break area around where they cut the brush where the fire cannot go beyond that. What else?
Yes, I'm Paul Cruz with East County Magazine. What exactly happened with the Julian 4th of July parade having its funding cut by the county? On one hand, you know, that the county does get this.
We're going to take care of that. I've talked to Mike. We're going to take care of it.
That's
They'll
great
be
to hear.
made whole. Yeah.
About 12 years ago, we had our home destroyed, but not by a fire. A contractor, my mother and I, from La Mesa, Grossmont College area, she's 75 years old. It was destroyed by her son, a contractor, and the whole thing was, there was a lot of fraud involved. We wrote you a letter when we complained to the district attorney, and the district attorney didn't investigate the matter. You wrote a letter to the district attorney. That didn't make the problem any better. We complained to you again. You then wrote another letter to Walt Eckert, the county administrator, the California Attorney General, CSLB chief, and a month later, DDA Greenwood wrote a letter violating my mother's victims' rights, making the problem even worse. So for the
Really?
Yeah, he then tells that the suspect is not under investigation. In fact, that we are. Well, we don't know what it is that we've been under investigation for, but what we can tell you is that for the past 12 years, we've been living in a destroyed home that has nearly killed my mother. Last year, she suffered a pulmonary embolism because of the condition of her home that hasn't never been addressed, because every door we knock on, whether it be the county, the district attorney, the state, going to court, it's always just shut for us. So we went back to the district attorney. It's a new district attorney now. It's Stephen Summers. It's not Bonnie DeMattis. And we met her at Grossmont College. We spoke to Chief Damon Mosler out at Grossmont College. He read the report of all the abuse that's been going on for the past 12 years, wrote us back a letter saying we should have done something back in 2007, but we didn't, and as a result, statute of limitations expired, but the crime, the elder abuse is still ongoing. And so they sent us back to you, the county, to place a claim, which is what we've done. And the county now has sent it back to county council. County council sent it back to the district attorney. The district attorney is supposedly going to respond back to county council to see what's going on. So we're waiting to hear back now from the district attorney who's going to talk to county council, but we're still hoping that the county can help us coordinate the effort with the California Department of Insurance, because her insurance is also involved in the abuse over the past 12 years. And I'm going to explain to you why. I'm writing a complaint now to the CDI, and like I told county council, his name is Bert. I'm going to send him a copy of that. I don't think he read any of our papers. He just sent it back to the DA. It's important for him to read that CDI complaint, even if it's directed at the state, because I'm hoping to coordinate the effort between the county and the state to put an end to the abuse once and for all. So I'm hoping to get your assistance in that problem. That's why we're here today.
12 years.
12 years, we're still living this way.
How can I help?
How we can help is to help. We need to know what's in our file. Jesse obstructed justice, made all kinds of acts. Jesse is her son who destroyed the house. He obstructed justice by contacting the district attorney and using false pre-filing orders that he got the presiding judge to sign. The judge then literally removed his own order by filing another order to strike his first order, but the first order remained. He used that order to bamboozle the district attorney into obstructing justice, not investigating the crime, and that's why the litigation's been ongoing for 12 years without any resolution.
Well, and Tori, my staff, is here too. Sorry, Tori, good to see you. Make sure one of my staff, either Tori or Taylor or Matthew, gets your information, and we'll try to see where things are and if there's any way we can help.
Exactly, yes, Matthew is already been notified, he sent it to county council, we'll be working with him again, hoping to get your assistance to coordinate the effort with the CDI to have the full investigation to put an end to the abuse. Thank you.
And it's always too complicated for any lawyer. No lawyer wants to touch our case, too complicated.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Millions of dollars, right?
So sorry.
And I am sure that my son probably wrote you a letter. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And all he does is defame me in my back. I don't know what he is accusing me of. But how can you defend yourself if you don't know what you are accused of?
I don't recall getting a letter from your son, your other son.
Right.
I don't recall getting a letter from him.
I wouldn't be surprised that
But
he did.
we'll check. We will double check. Yes, ma'am.
I approached you before you started the meeting.
Yep.
About microgrids and seeing if we might be able to put one into Julian. And I talked to Joe at SDG&E just now, and he said that SDG&E has started the preliminary investigation into something like that.
Great.
I wanted to mention that to you because I think possibly the ball might be rolling.
That'd be pretty exciting to do, wouldn't it, Joe?
Sorry, we have one working in Borrego's.
Yeah.
What is a microgrid?
A microgrid is a way in which you can see this on big campuses, on big businesses. They're putting them in after big disasters like in Puerto Rico or in New Jersey. They're starting to do it all over the state. They're doing it in parts of New York, where you take a community, not just a business or a university or hospital. You take a community and you set up a secondary system so that if there's going to be an outage, it shifts to the microgrid. And they use alternative power to support the microgrid.
It's basically solar for a community.
Yes.
Instead of solar for an individual, it's solar for a community that a community can tap into.
Yes.
But it doesn't use the lines.
With a battery.
No, so that's,
So
I built one in Borrego.
Sure, yeah, please.
I'm Brian Crouch, I'm also the battalion chief for your local volunteers. I built that microgrid down in Borrego. And what it consists of is solar being pumped into batteries, backup batteries that are there. Any kind of green energy, wind or whatever. They can also tap in to the substation next to it to charge those batteries. And then when the system goes down, which we did, we shut off all of Borrego and had it held up for 8 hours on that battery system that we put it on the microgrid. So if you put that in, something happens, they can switch it over to that, and you'll be powered off of that for a while. You still need to make sure that your solar is working well, and there's not a big draw on it. But it's a great system. I worked with the Department of Energy on that. It was so cool to build. It's a real neat system with all the batteries and all that, how much they hold and all that. So it'd be a great asset to this community.
it doesn't rely on the power lines to run it.
It does. You still have to get the power back out through the power lines.
But if the power's shut down, it's able to use the lines?
Yeah, they can cut it off. That's what they do when they sectionalize stuff.
This could provide the difference in an unplanned outage. It would give us the time to roll the truck up the hill, cover us 4, 6 to 8 hours, depending upon the number of battery storage facilities we place on site.
What I've learned is Tesla's looking into the batteries that could be used for this, Northrop Grumman. I mean, this is not something, there's all kinds of companies and communities that are starting to do this. I think that they're seeing some new technologies that might be applicable here.
The batteries are also getting smaller. The first ones we put in, first ones we put in came on 40-foot trailers. and they were all big things. Now they have the individual ones where they're racks, and they can start, you know, they can pull out and do that. The first one we put in was like $5 million a piece.
Yikes. But communities or neighborhoods can do that too. So not just a big community, but neighborhoods in a community could get together and do something like that. Got an expert right here in the community. Y'all had enough? Any other questions? We'll hang around a little bit. I've been asked to visit the museum and some other areas and in the community while I'm up here, and plan to do that. So I really appreciate y'all coming out, and just be safe. Be safe. Thank you.